Habari asubuhi, which in Swahili means good morning, and welcome to an absolutely spectacular day here in the marvelous Masai Mara. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have Craig, aka Batman, hiding behind a large pair of sunglasses behind me somewhere, and I cannot wait to take you on this sunrise game drive in the Masai Mara. Now, of course, as a lot of you know, and if you don't, just in case, use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter to send me questions. And of course, I'm very happy to be back. I've just got back from a little break where I traversed around Kenya and had a wonderful time, and traveling, well, not too far from here, probably about 100 kilometers or so to the north of here, up in the crater lakes of the Great Rift Valley. We have some buffaloes. Good morning, Flows. How are you this morning? Lovely herd. Now, this herd is quite resident. It moves around from up on the escarpment down towards the Samaki Marsh and around towards the Chitwa airstrip. Now, there's actually two of them. Sometimes they join together to form a nice big herd. And I just can't believe how green it is since I left. So obviously the buffalo are very, very happy about that. Now, the East African buffalo definitely tend to look at you with a bit more venom than the Southern African buffalo. And as the old saying goes, they look at you like you owe them money. Sort of the bush equivalent of a loan shark. The loan shark look. It is absolutely gorgeous this morning. The temperature is idyllic and the light is spectacular, and I wonder what wonders we are going to find. And a big thank you to all those welcoming me back. It's great to be back. Oh, we have a large lorry coming past. Just stand by while... Oh no, he's got enough space. So that large lorry is one of from the balloons. So they managed to pile up a whole balloon onto the back of it, and that one actually looks like a very old school Bedford. So that's actually from World War II. Can you believe it? Still running strong. Now, I had the unfortunate... well, it depends on which way you look at it. When I used to live in southern Tanzania, I had an unfortunate string of large lorries, all of them being from World War II, some made by the British, some made by the Italians, all of them completely unreliable and likely to throw you down a cliff if not concentrating. So when we had to go down steep areas, our drivers would often refuse to drive those old lorries. So I used to drive them, and I used to have my tracker in Dumboro, and what he used to do is hold the four-wheel drive lever in place to make sure it didn't pop out, because they're quite famous for popping out of four-wheel drive. So we're going to leave the buffalo, and I think I'm going to do a Mara River meander this morning, see what's happening down towards Hippo Pools, and hopefully we're going to find some kitty cats. Oh, we're being overtaken here, and of course we are not the only ones out in the marvelous Mara, and if I've returned from leave, so has Jamie. So let's go say good morning.
A very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Jamie. This morning Manu is on camera with me. This is my first morning back at work, and I've already spilt tea all over my lap, and I was utterly devastated. Firstly because now I'm kind of just cold and a little bit damp, but also because it was such a shocking waste of tea. But now that we've got the bad luck out of the way, I'm so looking forward to meandering back around the Masai Mara once again after 2 weeks of leave. Manu and I were out yesterday afternoon supporting Tristan in spirit, because unfortunately the gremlins attacked the internet system and there was no way that we could broadcast. But we were there, we were out, we got rained on. My first afternoon back, we got rained on. I dropped my tea this morning. It's quite devastating, really. I'm hoping the Angamas are just going to walk out in front of me and make that morning a little bit more exciting. So I've been away for 2 weeks, for those of you that are new to these live safaris, Brent and myself, and we had a lovely time. We explored Nairobi, slowly in the traffic most of the time, but we explored Nairobi. We went to Lake Naivasha, we went fishing, again in theory, played with lots of dogs, which is amazing. But we're back at work, and now I really want to go and see how big the cubs have got. Between the Angama pride and the sausage tree pride. I tried to find the sausages yesterday, it didn't work. Now I'm trying to find the Angamas. See how big their cubs have got while I've been away. Now don't forget, because this is a live safari, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is how you can get hold of us. And for those of you who are keen birders, I should have actually bought my bird book. I probably added about 15 new birds to my list. Speaking of things that happened while I was away, and presumably the cubs have got larger, John, you'd like to know if anything's changed while we've been on leave. The grass is shorter, much shorter, noticeably shorter. It's also noticeably greener. I assume there's been quite a bit of rain, or perhaps it's a carryover from the rain that we had while I was still at work. Either way, it's definitely greener, I think, anyway. It feels a great deal greener. And it was interesting driving to Nairobi and then back from Nairobi and seeing how much greener everything got, which is good, because for the large part, Kenya is unbelievably dry at the moment. Everything's quite brown and grey and dusty. The Mara's looking stunning, and they're flowers. Wait, I'm sure I saw flowers. It's the first time I've properly seen flowers in the Mara as well. I'm going to have to go and find out what they are. Now, of course, because I said that, I can't find one. Manu? Have those people... Oh, they found the lions. I see a lion! I see a lion! Why am I always on the wrong side of the lugger? Like my story of the Masai Mara, I'm on the wrong side of the drainage line every time. That looks like a lion to me. Is that a lion? Shall we have a look? Jamie's left her binoculars in her bag, in her tent. But that looks a bit to the left. Wait, where is it? There on that termite mound. On the right of the cars. The other right. Further right, that's left. Sorry, there we go. That's a lion. Hello, lion. Now, are you an Angama lady or not? Any sign of any others? Nope, just Dobby in the background. Haha! That wasn't difficult, was it, Manu? First road we drove down. Why are we always on the wrong side? If you ever find yourself taking bets on our live safaris, which I'm sure of course you don't, but if you did, you could safely bet I will pick the wrong side of the river system. I will have to go around. And if I try to counteract that by thinking, okay, this is where I want to be, so I'm going to go to the other side, it's still the wrong decision. Some kind of Mara, I don't know if I'd call it a curse. Jamie's Mara decisions. I'm not sure. Do you know how far around it is? It's really far. Oh well. Oh well, we're in no rush and it's good to be back. Okay, I'm going to have to go all the way around to get to the lovely lioness that's on a termite mound. Let's go across to Brent to find out how his Mara River meander's going.
Well, Well, we haven't quite got down to the Mara River yet. As I said, we're stuck behind Bedfords, and I was saying they're entirely unreliable vehicles, and one has already broken down. Hasn't even gone a couple of kilometers from where we left it. But thankfully, there's a Bedford to rescue it, which I'm not sure was the best thing. Bedford and Bedford equals a lot of time with the mechanics. Okay, so now we're getting onto what is the main river road. It's the main road.
Oh dear, it seems as though Brent has disappeared off your screen. Perhaps the sight of the broken down vehicle just, inspired the gremlins to start their nonsense on his vehicle. Oh, there we go, the Angama's hanging out in a dead tree. Unfortunately, no matter which side of the drainage line I'm on, this is probably the closest we're going to get. How cute is the one on the left? What are you doing? You don't look very balanced at all. That doesn't look comfortable, at least. Yeah. Are you actually just stuck? The amazing thing about being in the Mara is watching the way that the lions climb trees. Far more frequently, of course they climb trees in South Africa as well, but far more frequently in this particular part of the world. How cute is this? Look at the one's back foot clinging on. What are you trying to pull up the... Of course, cubs will be especially inspired to utilize nature's jungle gyms. Is that one of the littlest ones? It must be. God, so big. So, for those of you that have recently discovered these live safaris, first of all, welcome. I assume there's a couple of new viewers watching this morning. The Angamas, 4 lionesses, 13 cubs. Between the ages of, I would say, now close to 7 months old, and the youngest being... well, that much smaller, around about 3.5 months now. Oh, the life of a lion cub. Oh, look, it's all head. Oh, there's going to be tears. Metaphorically, because of course they're not going to cry. Fantastic way to learn for the little cubs. Build up their coordination, their skills, their strength. And sometimes when you're that tiny, it has to involve a little bit of a sneaky technique. Lara Moore, absolutely. It's nature's jungle gym. In this case, a lion's jungle gym. Sweet. Oh, look at that face. Butter would melt in your mouth. Oh, I'm so glad we got to see them. I don't know where the rest of them are, but these two have been keeping us thoroughly entertained. Yes, nature's jungle gym, but not just nature's jungle gym. Nature's chew toy, nature's claw sharpener. So many different things rolled into one. Occasionally a good tummy scratcher. Oh, I'm sorry to our viewer whose name is No One Likes Me. I like you. I thought your question was lovely. You want to know, when do lions usually feel stress, if I got that right. Was that correct, Chantal? When do lions usually feel stress? Very seldom, actually. Very seldom. I mean, they really are essentially the biggest, baddest things out here in terms of predators. You will get situations, of course, where the females in particular will feel stressed if the males are fighting, if there's more young males that have come in and taken over a territory or perhaps are causing trouble in an area. Females will race away from that, and you can see in their body language just how stressed they become when there are strangers in the area, or if the males are feeling particularly antagonistic. So you'll find that will be the biggest cause of stress in the lion's life. Hyenas, occasionally, especially in situations where, and you'll find that a lot here, where you've got the massive clans ganging up together against the lions. Oh, there's another cub, wandering along behind the beautiful lioness. That, if I'm not mistaken, that lioness on the right, no, I don't want to make that call. I think it's the mother of the second youngest set of cubs. Just judging by her ear, but it's hard to tell at this distance. So hyenas, other lions, those will be the big things that cause lion stress. And then, of course, dietary physical stress. When they're struggling to actually feed themselves and they're struggling to keep their cubs well fed. Those are the sorts of moments where they are not entirely comfortable. But I will say that nothing can sleep like a lion can sleep out here. They always look so incredibly calm and relaxed. Everything else kind of dozes with the realization that there's a potential to be hunted or harassed at any one point in time. But a lion just sleeps, especially a male lion. Ah, another fantastic name coming through this morning. I didn't do it. I think you did. I didn't do it, but I didn't do it. You want to know if the cub called out in pain, would the mother come running? Depends on the sound. So a cub whining because its paw's been bitten, mom is just going to completely flat out ignore. They're kind of used to that whole thing. If a cub is really being harassed or bullied by its older cousins or something's really wrong, then yes, mom will respond instantly to sounds of distress. She absolutely will. And if you watch, especially with mothers that have just introduced their cubs to the pride, they are very, very particular. And when the older cubs get a bit too rough, a bit too boisterous with the younger cubs, the mother comes in and whacks them around until they behave. So yeah, absolutely. It's the same as most animals with some level of parental care. And they'll respond to the distress calls of their cubs or babies or whatever it happens to be. Baby elephant, baby rhino, anything like that. I am going to hope that the cubs come back out again. They've moved off their jungle gym. But it seems as though while the Angamas have been keeping us company, Brent has been fighting off gremlins.
Well, we're finally getting down towards the wonderful, beautiful, and sometimes murderous Mara River. And this, for me, is one of my favorite areas of the triangle. Now, we're going to come down onto the floodplain that's right next to the Mara River. And we've had some fantastic sightings. Hyenas hunting buffalo, lions hunting wildebeest, cheetah hunting Thompson's gazelle, all within this next little bit. And also, it's the area I like to call the clan lands. So this is sort of the beginning of the estimated between 80 and 90 strong, and always a great fun to see. Now, as we disappeared a bit earlier, I do apologize about that. I know why. They want to keep the Sooty chat off screen. I've tried many times to put a Sooty chat on camera, and it's just never worked out. So we'll hopefully find one shortly. Now, also, on a spot like this, and one must remember that with an ecosystem like this, it's a continuously changing thing. But where you get a lovely little green mat, like we're looking at here, it's a very good area for one of the most beautiful birds in the Mara, called the rosy-throated longclaw. And of course, at the moment, there is not even a butterfly. Oh, absolutely stunning morning. Now remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. Michael would like to know, what do I look forward to seeing now that I'm back? Everything, Michael. Absolutely everything. And that is one of the wonderful things about what we do out here. We get to see it all, from the dirt to the grass to the birds to the butterflies to the big cats. I think I'm quite excited to get back down to the Sand River around Siler's camp, and I heard the wildebeest to that side, but that was a couple of days ago, and that can all change. Tomorrow morning we might wake up and the wildebeest will be here. Now, one of the really cool things about being around the wildebeest is you see lots of other stuff, and especially after the wildebeest have been through an area and they absolutely munch through the grass, it makes it a lot easier to spot things like serval and zorillas, and the one thing I'm really excited to see, or get on camera at least, and I've seen it out at night, but it disappeared too quickly to get onto camera, is a white-bellied hedgehog. So there are hedgehogs in the Mara, so that would be a very cool thing. I'm quite excited. I'd love to share that with you guys. What other weird things have we seen? Aardwolf, Zorilla, which is basically the African version of a skunk. I'm trying to think what else. Aardwolf, serval. I have seen a caracal. Very briefly, dashed across the road one night. And another thing I'm very excited to find is a bat-eared fox den. And now, after the wildebeest have mowed the grass short, there are a much better chance of finding something like that. Okay, we got two birds here quickly. So let's go furthest from us first on the termite mound. Well, there we go. Well done, Batman. Aha! This could be a nice new one for a lot of people's Mara bird lists. Very cool. Now, I'm going to keep that one in my pocket and I'll ask you, what bird is that? Let's just go a little bit closer quickly, Craig, just so everyone can have a nice look at it. There we go. So who can tell me what bird that is? Hashtag Safari Live. And I don't think we've got this on our Mara list so far. Normally you find them in a much thicker areas around the trees. And while you guys try to figure out who that is, we've got one of the Mara regulars a bit closer to us, perched in very typical fashion. We've got a male and a female. The male, there's the female at the back. Hello, girl. And then the male sitting right in front of us, very much showing off. Now, they're very prominent perchers, the yellow-throated longclaws. And as I said, we're hoping that maybe we're going to find the rosy-throated. So, obviously, rosy, a bright pink version of this. So while we meander down the Mara River, or the edge of it at least, let us go back to the north of us, to Jamie and the wonderful Angama Pride.
Well, my plan was to meander along the river as well, but I've been completely distracted, because now, sitting with the Angamas, everywhere I look another head pops up, and I think I've counted at least 8 cubs, so that's how many I've seen this morning. They're all around, they're in this area. Here's a lioness going up to, well, sniff a bush for some reason. I cannot believe how large those older cubs are. There's the lioness at the back and the older cubs. They must, I mean, that cub in the middle there must be way older than 7 months. 8, 9 months maybe. They're massive. I haven't seen them next to the adults, but now actually almost, at a distance, you could almost mistake them for an adult. The little ones, not so much. So there we go. There's lions scattered all around this area. And judging by the bellies on the females, if they did make a kill, or if they have eaten, it wasn't anything particularly large. Where did that lioness... If you try to keep track of the lionesses... Now I've lost the other one. I've only counted 3 so far. What you staring at, girl? Oh, it's so beautiful this morning. And I was wrong as well. I thought it was going to be one of those mornings where we had a spectacular sunrise and then everything went a bit cold and grey and dreary. But it hasn't worked out that way at all. The light's been terribly obliging. They've been such an enjoyable pride to follow right on our doorstep, right outside. As soon as we get down into the reserve, we know exactly where to go when we want to find the Angama pride. That, of course, will change as the cubs gets older. Very good morning to Patty and Patty. While we watch this youngster wandering through without a care in the world, you'd like to know what age the cubs will have to be in order to be safe from an incoming male. If you're talking about a female cub, you're looking at around about 2.5, maybe even 3. Oh, there comes a little one there, Manu, off to the right, just poking out. There you go. There it pops out. Hey, little one. So you're looking at around about 2.5 to 3 years old. That's the standard time that the females will start to come into estrus for the first time, and at the same time, their mothers will come into estrus as well. So that's obviously the motivation behind males killing cubs, is essentially to bring their mothers back into estrus so that they don't invest time or energy raising and protecting a territory that contains cubs that are not their own. Males, there is no time when they're going to be safe completely from incoming males, provided they are submissive at around about between 2 to 3 years old. Provided they're submissive and they move out of an area quite quickly, they should be okay. But there's no guarantees of that, and of course, once they are nomadic and once they're moving about looking for their own territory, there's a good chance that they could get beaten up by older males and sometimes even killed. So it's a much harder, in a way, I suppose it's hard to actually compare, but in a way it's actually quite difficult for the young males and very dangerous in that transition period of their lives. And obviously they're far more likely to attract the ire of an incoming group of males because, well, it's competition. Oh, lions, come here. Come closer, please. Now that's a question that people, or a lot of people ask, that's Ashland's asked, and it's very much a part of, I think the reason it gets asked so often is because it's part of the connection that we have while we watch these cubs grow up. So cubs will start to hunt, meaningfully participate in a hunt at around about 1.5 to 2 years. At this age, the oldest ones, let's say they're about 8 months old. Oh wait, hold on. There's a whole load. Their heads are just sticking out behind that clump of bushes. Let's just have a look there first, and then I'll move. So you're looking at around about, the little cubs will hunt at 6 weeks old. That instinct is there, so they'll hunt something small, like a moth or a cricket or whatever it happens to be. Obviously, they are far too small to participate in the hunts with the adults. Generally, at around about 6 months of age, they really start to show interest. They try and follow the adults around. They mess the hunts up. And for the next year or so, that will be the general trend. They will go and stalk with the adults, and they will mess it up. And they'll make the females' lives that much more difficult. And the females will spend a lot of time trying to ditch the older cubs so that they can actually go about their day-to-day work unimpeded. What I've noticed with lions, having spent many an hour with lion prides, and in fact, I think it was about a 4-month period, we spent every single day with one lion pride, with a researcher doing her PhD on them. And what I noticed in terms of the general trend was that when the hunts were initiated, they were initiated by the youngest member of the pride, just because they've got that instinct and they haven't quite got the experience to know when to initiate a hunt and when to just leave it. And that instinct runs very, very strong when they're that young. Can you imagine? And I mean, to be completely honest, it's quite unlikely. Can you imagine how wonderful it would be if all 13 cubs of the Angama pride survived? Imagine us driving down the hill in a year and a half's time, and there's a group of 17 lions, pride of 17 lions. That, of course, won't happen, just because statistically it's pretty much impossible that all the cubs will survive. Darlene, yes, I have. I've seen it quite a few times. Darlene was wondering if I've ever seen a cub being attacked and the mother intervening. I've seen it with male lions going for a cub, and the mother's... the ferocity in a lioness when she's trying to protect her cubs is something that you can't even describe in words. The sound and the fury and the speed that she responds. I've seen them attack hyenas before to chase them away from cubs. I've seen them chase other lionesses. I've seen them swat poor older cubs who didn't really mean any harm. And a couple of memorable occasions I've almost been attacked myself, just because, not because I was attacking the cubs, but because I ended up walking between lionesses and their cubs in their den site or something like that. It happens. You don't intend to do it, you don't mean to do it, but it does happen. And let me tell you something, there is nothing quite like the growl of a lioness and that realization that you've got cubs on one side and her on the other. You just think, I'm going to go back really slow. I'm going to walk backwards really slowly. Really slowly. Oh, no. Bone-chilling sound when a lioness growls like that. Yes, I've seen it happen. And they're incredible. The speed and the force. Right, our lions have all essentially vanished. We've been talking about lions. We've been talking about young male lions and older male lions. Let's go to somebody with, as Chantal said, with a mane of his own.
Welcome back, everyone. Remember, this is your very own live African safari coming to you from the Masai Mara in Kenya, and we're with some spotted hyenas. As I said a little bit earlier, I like to call this area the clan lands. So this a few members of the North Clan. There are over 80 of them in this area, and I can't see what they've got. It looks like quite an old carcass that they're chewing on. It doesn't look too appetizing, does it? Oh no, not at all appetizing. Well, if you're a hyena, you have the gut of a gut of steel. They are incredibly able to digest some of the most foul things on the planet. We're at an area that is called Majandege, which means water of the birds. And where those hyenas were sitting in May was actually completely underwater. So this is an old oxbow of the Mara River. So the Mara River is a relatively young river and has changed its direction many times in the last sort of 10,000 years. And at some stage, it used to flow right here. And slowly over time, the sediment and rain and soil have filled up this area, and now it's a beautiful swamp. And during the wet season, it is home to many large water birds such as crowned cranes, saddle-billed storks. At the moment, though, it is home to some members of the North Clan. Where are you coming to say hello? Now, the one thing I must admit, I have not seen a skinny hyena since I've been in Kenya. They are incredibly adept at keeping well fed. So even when the migration is not around, they tend to have very full bellies. And this particular clan is quite famous for their hunting prowess. And the amazing thing is they actually hunt buffalo and hippo. So you get 7 or 8 individuals harassing a buffalo or hippo. Munch, munch, munch. Well, we got a visitor here next to us, Craig. So that hyena who was walking towards us has got a little bit curious and come to say hello. There we go, through the arch of the back of the vehicle. No, we're not that interesting. I need to move off. Now, one of the most amazing things I find about the Clan lands, as you move through them, it doesn't look like there are any hyenas there. And the first sign of distress from a predator, that sort of, all of a sudden, literally, heads just pop up. And we had that during a buffalo hunt. In my first week in the Mara, we had them hunting a sickly baby buffalo. And the one hyena grabbed that buffalo's bum, and in a matter of seconds, there were about 12 steaming in. Good morning, Sir Jake. Sir Jake is wondering, what is my favorite thing about hyenas? Oof, the list is long. They are absolutely fascinating creatures. Let me just try and think. I think it's their curiosity is probably my favorite thing about hyenas. They're incredibly curious and incredibly intelligent. Probably the most intelligent of all predators we get in Africa, outside of the primates, of course. And their ability to take advantage of situations. So they will hunt, and very proficiently, often far more proficiently than lions. But if they don't have to hunt, they're happy to steal. And there's some very interesting papers out there at the moment about the evolution of intelligence using hyena as the sort of study animal, and how, in comparison to the other predators, they're evolving intelligence and high thinking far quicker than everything else. Good morning, Carson, who's in Denmark. Carson would like to know, do they practice allo grooming or groom each other like lions do? Not really. The only real grooming you'll see with hyenas is a mother and cubs. Other than that, they don't practice allo grooming. And so a mother will groom her cubs, and the cubs will lick mom, but that's about where it ends, unfortunately. So they don't practice that social grooming. Now, in terms of their vocalizations, they've got a lot more vocalizations, so that means they are able to communicate through those vocalizations much easier than a lion would. And that's probably why allo grooming isn't such a big deal to them, because through body language and vocalizations, they are able to communicate a lot more, and they have a lot more vocal range than a lion does. Speaking of lions, I heard there's some lions not too far down the road. So while the hyenas are chilling out at Majandege, we're going to start moving. But I hear we have some ganders at that wonderful little bird we saw earlier. We have a few guesses who said it was a thrush. It was not, and I'm going to tell you why it was not. So a thrush generally is going to, and I did say they normally sit in trees and stuff like that. A thrush is normally got a much smaller bill, and most African thrushes are very brightly colored in the front, so they're orange or yellow or olive. So not a thrush, but a good guess. I'll see if I can find some thrush. And Aaron, you have it spot on. Indeed, it is a striped kingfisher. So a lot of the African kingfisher species are not fishes at all. They're insectivores. Right on the edge but it's unusual to see a striped kingfisher sitting so low. Normally they like to perch on the lower branches of big trees, and or they hawk is the sort of terminology for insects. Insects, small frogs, things like that, but they don't actually fish. So a lot of African kingfishers are insectivores rather than pescivores. Okay. So as I said, I heard there's some lions down around Maine South. So it could be the Paradise Pride. And so we're going to go have a little wander down. So while we continue our meander down the marvelous Mara River, let's go across.
I'm meandering in the towards the meandering Mara. Oh goodness! No, let's start that sentence again. You get the idea. I'm going towards the Mara River. What is over there? We will go back towards the Angamas. There's a herd of buffalo slowly moving towards them, so we will go back there. I'm just doing a little loop. I have to anyway to get a good view. I have to go around to the other side. I just have to share this with all of you because I know there's lots of you out there that will appreciate it. Last night we got to spend time with a couple of amazing people, one of whom was Bob Poole and his wife Gina, which has been, for me, and it was so unbelievably exciting. I did a proper little fangirl moment. I lost my words. I couldn't properly formulate a sentence, but it's always been a dream of mine to meet him. And of course, Bob's sister Joyce has done the most amazing research. And when I was a teenager growing up, I read all of her articles as they came out on elephants and the way that they interact. She, of course, is a specialist in elephant behavior and communication. She did a huge amount of research into must cycles of elephant bulls. And Bob, of course, is a well-established documentary maker, a cinematographer. It was amazing. I had a proper fangirl moment. So excited. And it's quite incredible to think that we've actually had a chance during Earth Live, which we did at the end of July, middle of July. During Earth Live, we actually got essentially to work with Bob. He was filming the hyenas, and we were doing, well, we were filming the Angama Pride, actually. Sophie Darlington, Jandre, and myself. Hello, little Tommies. They're such strange antelope. Peculiar horns. The males, they look like a combination of different antelope, and then the females with those ridiculous little horns. I mean, look, there's a way that they grow into each other like that. Oh, you look very pregnant, my dear. What astounded me when I first got here, because I had no concept of exactly how it worked, what absolutely amazed me was the way that baby Thompson's gazelle disappear. They lie on the ground and I promise you can barely see them. If you don't know where they are invisible. It's the most incredible camouflage. They sort of... he's very interested in that lady. She doesn't seem as keen. Wait, come back! Come back! I haven't finished telling you my stories. Are you sure? Are you sure you're not interested? Can't I get your phone number? Oh, distraction. No. Oh, he's single-minded about this lady. She just really wants some breakfast. You can see him lifting his head, scenting the air, trying to see if perhaps she might be receptive to his intentions. She's really not keen. Oh, he's given up. I'm sorry, buddy. Oh, there's another lady. Perhaps this one will be... No, breakfast. I think that's a sensible decision, mister. It wasn't going so well. Valerie, their tail is cute, isn't it? It's quite ridiculous, actually. They do look like they've been put together by the spare parts of all the other antelope. Look at that tail! Furiously sweeping away the flies. Be interesting, of course, because the Thompsons will start their mass movement soon. Now that the wildebeest have come through the zebra, the grass is much shorter. We're going to be seeing large groups of them crossing the Mara in the same way we've been viewing the wildebeest. I think, apparently, that's what's going to happen. They are sweet. That's such a beautifully peaceful morning. It smells crisp, clean, slightly muddy. It smells like mud. And just a gentle breeze. It would be interesting to study, if one had the resources and the time, would be to actually study the horn growth in the females, because a lot of them don't have horns. And it would be fascinating to see if you could go back and try and work out if they're evolving to have horns or if actually the females are evolving not to have horns. Because typically you find with antelope, quite a large percentage of them, the females have horns as well. And there's a massive correlation between the habitat that the antelope live in and whether or not the females of the species have horns. So essentially when you get something like a kudu or an inyala or a bushbuck, where they live in closed environments, horns are actually a bit of a hindrance rather than a help. They get caught in bushes. So the males have them to compete for the females, but the females don't have them at all. They don't need them. Whereas with antelope that live out in the open, where they need to defend themselves and their little ones, the females tend to have horns. The other reason that's been put forward, another theory, is that for antelope that live out in the open, it pays for the females, the young males, to look like the females, if that makes any sense. So the females have horns so that the young males can actually remain in the herd for a bit longer. They're not as obvious to the dominant males of a group, so they don't get pushed out and have to sort of make their own way in the world. Not sure I buy that, because animals are very much scent-driven creatures. So I'm not sure that that's a theory that entirely convinces me, but it's a theory nevertheless. And it's a theory that's been proposed by people far smarter than myself and who've spent far more time. Whee! Galloping along. Well, I've got wonderful news for you this morning. Of course, it's not just Brent and myself in the Mara. Tristan is up and running on Djuma, and he's found everyone's favourite. Oh dear, it seems as though Tristan has disappeared off your screen. I'm just busy sitting here trying to locate my water bottle, which I have done. And we shall carry on. This delay is seriously a serious hamper. 19 seconds between us and Djuma. It makes our directors' lives quite difficult, and Chantal and Megan having to coordinate between two different countries. Okay, where should we go next? Straight, I think. Manu says, yeah, I think so. Let's go see if we can find the lions that live around the marsh, have a look at the males, see how they're doing, and then we'll go back to the Angamas. wonderful news, I think this time, but I'm hesitant to guarantee it. Let's try once more to go back to Tristan and his spotted surprise.
Good morning everybody, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari from South Africa. And sorry we're a bit tardy this morning. We've had all kinds of different issues to deal with, but the best part about our morning is what's about to come.
Well, it doesn't seem like Tristan's having any luck this morning. Well, I suppose he is with the old man Mvula, spilling his tea, flat tires. I think someone needs to give Tristan a hug today. Poor Tristy. But we are heading towards where we heard Paradise Pride of Lions were, and just below Main South Crossing. And Craig and I were just chatting because we heard Tristan had Mvula about leopards in the Mara, and I've seen a female leopard in this area along the river, but she is very skittish, and she tends to disappear at the first sign of a car. Oh dear, I thought I was going to have enough steam to slide down the hill. I'm just going to have to roll forward a tiny bit more. It is just absolutely unbelievable to me that, I mean, when I left 2 weeks ago, this area was inundated with wildebeest, and now it's absolutely bare. Now, there has been quite a bit of rain. There's quite a lot of green here, so there's a very good chance that, as I say, tomorrow morning you might wake up and the wildebeest are back. Are there fewer wildebeest hanging around now? Most definitely, but that's the way the migration works. They'll come and absolutely annihilate the grass here, and then a little bit of a little bit of rain, and the grass will have a little spurge, and then the wildebeest will be back, and they follow the rain around the mark, which is really was incredibly dry for what it normally is, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that the migration is going to stay in Kenya a little bit longer this year. And I've been chatting to friends who are down south in TZ, is us in the know call it, so Tanzania, who's saying it's still in a lot of the parts where the migration would normally from here, it's still an absolute dust bowl, and they're not getting that little bit of rain they normally get. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting year in terms of what happens with the migration. And the one thing I must admit that I've learned since being in Kenya, and specifically with the migration, is no one knows what's going on. We all just speculate, so I could be completely wrong. They might absolutely disappear tomorrow, but I don't think so. Just the one thing you got to every year is different. There's no set rules, and that goes for all wildlife. That the moment you try and make up a set rule for an animal, lions don't climb trees, lions don't swim, you will find a lion doing exactly that. Or although I will admit, you probably not find too many creatures going on today. Far from it.
Oh dear, it seems as though the gremlins are attacking everyone but us, Manu. We do apologize for that. It's just one of those things. Live safaris between South Africa and the Masai Mara, we're bound to encounter problems every now and again. But that's okay. It seems as though Paka, her signal seems to be quite reliable. It's quite a strange experience, actually, because typically, before I went on leave, Mila was the car that I drove, and Paka was Scott's car. And now Taylor's driving Mila, and I'm driving Paka. And I must say, Scott has properly decked this car out. There's a ladder now on the back so that you don't fall over yourself trying to put the antenna up every morning and taking it down every evening, which I have to say is a risk to life and limb at the best of times. There's a ladder, there's this giant spotlight that I think Brent is going to reclaim. I can guarantee Brent is going to reclaim. It's even got a little stand so your arm doesn't get too tired. I'm very impressed with Scott's efforts. And now, of course, Paka's also got a cage on her roof, which means when we go out all night, when there is a moment to take a nap, can sleep on the roof underneath the stars. I'm very impressed. Things have changed while I've been away. Teresa, it's going to happen. It is something that's going to happen. So we haven't, as far as I know, unless something magical happened while I was away and I somehow didn't hear about it, but as far as I know, we haven't captured a live birth in the Mara yet. We came very, very close when I first arrived here, and we were still spending all day trying to build up connections with our neighbors and so on. Brent and myself and Dave saw a baby elephant as the mom was breaking the sack. So we missed the actual moment that the baby was born, but we saw it take its first steps. Unfortunately, as much as we wanted to go live, gremlins, we couldn't. So we didn't manage to go live with it, but we did record it. Other than that, no, we haven't seen any live births, but I really think it's going to happen. And the reason I say that is just because, well, we're out here all the time, A, and B, it's so much more open than it is in South Africa that our chances increase exponentially. Because even though the mother might try, whether it's a zebra or giraffe, she might try and move into a slightly safer, more protected area, chances are we're going to be able to see. I'm really excited for that. I would love, any live birth is an incredible experience. It's a very emotional experience. But I would love to share a live giraffe birth with you all. I think that would be unbelievable. Imagine. So we've had, for our new viewers, we've had a few amazing moments during my time in Safari Live, and I know before that, where we've had wildebeest birth. James had that incredible situation where there was a zebra giving birth, so he's seen that. Okay, I'm going to continue my meandering, hopefully find a female that's in labour. You never know, we might get lucky. Let's go back across to Brent, who's found some signal and a river.
We've got very lazy hippopotamus snoozing. As I was saying, the Mara River's really up at the moment. So there's been, because Jamie and I crossed it yesterday on our way back into the Mara, and it's definitely come up about half a meter since then. Look at that. That looks like bliss. That hippo is fast asleep on the back of another. Eyes closed, ears tucked in. and a lovely friend to rest his chin on. So we're at Main North Crossing at the moment, and there are 3 topi that look like they were thinking about taking a plunge into the river, but saw a crocodile and decided, heck no. Now, when you're crossing just 3 of you, your odds aren't as good. They're still staring longingly at the river. Of course, even though we can't see any crocodiles now, we know the behemoths that lie under the water. And if I was a topi, I would stick to the green grass on your side of the river. Now, as I said, the lions were close to here at Main South, so let's just go a little bit further down the drag.
Oh dear, it seems once again that we've lost Brent, but that's okay. We've got some buffalo to keep you distracted, including one really tiny one bringing up the rear, with a whole line of them marching towards us. Where's that little one gone? There it is. Hello, baby. Buffalo birth would be incredible as well. Look at them all marching. I said to Manu just before Brent disappeared, I just said, I wonder where they're going. I wonder how it is they decide to, when they move. Manu just goes, oh, they're going to collect their debts. Because, of course, that standing description of all of us, where we describe the way that a buffalo looks at you as though it owes you money. And somewhere, yelping at us, or what it was yelping, is a jackal. I don't know where Taylor's jackal den is, but I'm very excited to go and see it. Come on, little one, catch up. There you go. Getting left behind. It's tough to keep up when you've got little legs. It's a young buffalo. Couple of weeks. A buffalo birth would be as amazing as well. Marching along. Oh. You bumped out of the way. Hello, Flows. And those of you with sharp eyes might have spotted the hummercorp that just flew past as well. There it is. Hummercorp, hammerhead. Not difficult to see where that name came from. Where is that jackal? I can hear it. That's a sound that carries. Oh, I can't believe I don't have my binoculars out. Can you hear it? Chantal, can you hear that? Manu, can you hear it? You can. It's screeching sound. Okay, I can't resist anymore. Let's go find the jackal. Maybe we'll find a jackal den of our own. One of the most beautiful sounds... Oh, sorry. Now I've deafened you all. Starting up the vehicle. One of the most beautiful sounds, I think, in the entire world is blackback jackals singing and howling to each other at sunset. It's the most extraordinary sound. It gives you goosebumps. It's impossible to imitate. I would, but I'm useless. I wouldn't be able to imitate it. Let's see if we can find it. Sounded like it was somewhere here. I'm going to see if I can find this jackal for you. I hesitate to say this, but I'll try it once again. It seems as though Brent has found signal and some big cats.
There we go, the Paradise Pride in prime Paradise territory between Main South Crossing and Dusty Crossing. Now, as I was saying before, the gremlins rudely interrupted me as I was chatting to Alfred, who's one of the senior wardens in the Mara Triangle, and he said he saw them feeding on a Thompson's gazelle, which is very unusual, but when you're hungry and meat is around. But as you can see, there's 3 there now, a female and 2 cubs, but I can see about 7 or 8 in total spread through the croton bushes. So 7 or 8 lions and a Thompson's gazelle, that's not going to go far. So they probably are still quite peckish. There we go, you can see some more in the croton bushes there. And one lioness all the way off to the right, looking down towards Dusty Crossing. And there she is. You've seen something. I think Paradise Lion's going, where have the wildebeest gone? Come back, please. Get tired swimming the river and jump into our mouths. Now, they have a very particular strategy when it comes. Quickly across to Jamie.
Well, we found our jackal, and what's amazing about this sighting is that they are being dive-bombed by the lapwings. When I first noticed that was actually how I found them. Just watch how brave these birds are. Swooping down, pecking at the backs of the jackals. Unfortunately, it's really far away, but you can see the 2 trotting off. Oh, giraffe. And the lapwings diving in to chase them away, for good reason. They're ground nesting birds, and jackals are predators, and they will, a lot of their diet at a particular time of year will consist of birds' eggs. I've even seen a jackal feeding off an ostrich egg. I don't think the jackal broke it itself. I think that was accidental, but I've seen a jackal feeding off an ostrich egg as well. You can understand the birds' reluctance to see them in that particular area. I was hoping they were going to take us to a den site. I think that might be a little bit over-optimistic, but you never know. I'll have to go and find Taylor's jackal den. I'm thrilled that she managed to find one for you, because it's been a dream. We've spoken about finding a jackal den. Onwards we go, it seems, I hope. I'm not even going to. I'm going to stop saying it seems as though. Tristan has found signal, and he's still with Mvula.
We are, Jamie, but we're really having to park far away because for some reason where he is lying is Gremlin Central. I can't seem to get a reception anywhere near where he is, so we're a little bit far away, but it's better than no leopard and no signal whatsoever. So we're on Sandy Patch. He is slowly moving in a sort of southeasterly direction, and there is a drag mark for a kill here. So I think maybe what's happened is that he's gone to go and feed, and then he fed and then he went to go and drink around Sydney's. The problem is there looks like lots of tracks for hyenas, so I don't know if he's still got the carcass or if it was stolen from him, but whatever the case may be, he's had a really good meal. He's got a nice big fat full tummy, and so that's at least a good thing. Even if the hyenas have stolen it, he's still looking absolutely impeccable. And he was walking through the golden grass just now when we unfortunately lost signal, and it was just the most beautiful scene as he did it. No, don't get up and move. Oh, no. We've been trying for so long to get this view of him, and now that he's moving, it's going to be a problem, because if he moves too far, I'm not going to be able to keep up with him. And the other problem is that it's just us here, so there's 3 other vehicles that are wanting to come in this direction, so I can't really just leave him on his own and lose it. So hopefully he's going to decide to sit somewhere in that shade. It is a warm morning, so oh no, does not look good. He looks like he's striding off. No, there we go. Thank goodness for that. I thought for a second there he was going to start walking far away and we would have had a problem to try and keep up with him with the signal issues. But at least he's visible, and it's better than no leopard, like I say, and better than no signal where we are at the moment. And you can see it's him just, well, one, because of his face. He's got that typical face with his looking a little old and his eyes sag a little bit, but he's got also those tatty ears, which he's the only male in this particular section that has ears as tatty as that. And now he's going to lie down flat, and you can see how well they camouflage. If you look at that from here, it is almost impossible to see that cat. We can see him nicely because we are zoomed in, but that's what you would be looking at if you drove past. It would be very difficult to see him. In fact, even now when I look, I can't make out Mvula at all. It just looks like part of the road that you're seeing there. So it just shows you how easy it is to miss these guys and drive past them. The interesting thing though is that he's been quite active this morning in terms of he's been down, he sleeps for a few minutes, then up and walking, and he's following that drag mark. So we found exactly where he's lying is pretty much where it was dragged over the road. So whether it's him or the hyenas that dragged it, he seems to be following that, which is good news for us because it's heading deeper into Vuyatela and not towards Buffelshoek. So hopefully Mvula is going to spend the morning with us on this side. And at least, like I say, we've got some semblance of a view. It's not the best view, but it's better than no view. And I believe he's been spending a lot of time in the western sector, so he's been a lot around Arathusa and Simambili, and he's been robbing a lot of the young females of their kills, as well as being on some of his kills himself. I know he stole a bushbuck from the Ingrid Dam young female, and he also, I think, stole an impala from Nchila as well at some point. Now the guys are going in the wrong direction. Herb, you say, yes, cool, this is your favorite leopard. Well, I think he's a firm favorite of a lot of different people. It's a leopard that has been around for quite some time. He's got the most beautiful eyes, and he's really gained quite a big following over the years. Just remember also, he was the kind of romantic partner of Kruger for a number of years, which means that we learnt a lot about Mvula, and we saw a lot of him in this particular section, and lately he's almost this resurgence as he's come back into fruition. We had a time where we hardly saw Mvula. It was about a year that he just disappeared completely into Buffelshoek and into other areas, and then all of a sudden now he's just made an appearance again. In the last, I would say, 6-7 months, we've been seeing really regular sightings of Mvula, and it's a wonderful thing because he does have the most magical eyes. Those colors are incredible. It's very different to a lot of the other leopards we see out here, and there's just something about him, and for me, there's a whole history that comes with him, and I've spent a lot of time around this leopard, as well as the fact that I know his mother, spent time with her, and so it's kind of a whole lineage that I've followed, and he is really a wonderful individual. And I also like him because he seems to get up to all kinds of interesting behavior. We see him on the most random of carcasses. I've found him on porcupines many times. We know he was on a porcupine here at some stage this year, and he goes on to aardvarks and various other small little animals that are around, as well as the big stuff. I remember when he was in his heyday around sort of 2011, 2012, often used to find him on fairly big female kudu, big waterbuck. I think one day I remember him having a male waterbuck, a fully grown male waterbuck, which how he brought that down I'll never know. And waterbuck is a solid set, powerful animal, but he managed to do it. So he's a bit of a legend in this area, and he's, like I say, making a resurgence back to a viewable leopard. Buttons, you say the stories he could tell us exactly. Imagine what he's seen in his 12 and a bit years of existence. He's traveled a long way. Remember, he was born down in the south of the reserve along the Sabi river, and slowly but surely he forged his way northwards. And he's a leopard that is had in his prime a massive territory. I remember it stretching from Mala all the way into Manyeleti, so he was really used to walk around quite a bit, and he must have seen some crazy stuff. He's seen females come and go, males come and go, male lions come and go, female lions come and go, and he's really done incredibly well to have survived as well as he has, particularly now that he's gotten a bit older in a predator-rich area as well as a male-rich area. So you must remember that at the moment he's competing with Anderson, Tingana, Quarantine, a couple of the unknown males in Manyeleti, Buffelshoek. There's also a lot of the young upstarts that are starting to come through as well. So it's not an easy place for a male leopard to be. He's kind of sandwiched in amongst all of that, and to have survived and to be as healthy as he is now at the age that he is wonderful. And I was looking at his teeth the other day. His teeth are absolutely superb condition, bar the one that's broken, but the other three, the canines are long still. They're not worn or stubby in any way. They're a little bit yellow, but they're not in any way sort of not useful anymore. He's definitely still got, I would say, a couple of years left in him. As long as he can stay out of the way of the big boys and he can still find food like this, I reckon he'll still be around for a little bit longer, which is fantastic because, like I say, he's one of my favorites in terms of just the history that he's got, and he's a survivor at the end of the day. To be nomadic for the last sort of 2 years and still be in as good condition as he is a wonderful testament to his survival instincts and the way that he's able to move around. And you'll find he doesn't scent mark, he doesn't vocalize. He's learned very quickly that if he just takes it easy and he moves around stealthily, that he doesn't bring attention to himself, then it's quite fine. He doesn't actually have to worry as much. As soon as if he started to vocalize and scent mark, then you'd have a lot more problems, and you'd find Tingana and the likes would start to come after him. Well, you wanting to know of any of the more sort of famous leopards and lions that we see in this area? Are any of them GPS chipped or tracking or anything like that? Or is it just based on sightings and us using our skills of tracking and actually finding them, like that? Well, so not one of them is GPS. The only way that you can track an animal via a GPS is through a collar. There is no such thing as a chip that goes into an animal that then sends a signal to a GPS. It just doesn't work that way. You need a battery pack, and so the collar is the only way that you can pinpoint a location via sort of GPS. So you can't put a chip into these animals. It doesn't work that way. The chips that you put into pets are only identification chips. You can't monitor where your pet has moved through one of those little microchips. It doesn't work that way at all. So all of these animals are found either by luck in terms of just driving and there's a leopard in front of you, or by skill where the trackers get off and they track and they follow his footprints and find him that way. So it would be a whole lot more boring for me personally if we could just track these animals. Some days I wish we could, because some days it's quiet and it's tough, but there is so much in being able to find footprints, follow those footprints, find the animal using a bit of your own skill and not just a bit of technology. And there's that element of you driving around and you just never know. You never know who's around, what's around, and that thrill of being able to find these different animals and the unexpected around corners, and to be able to see different animals in different locations. That's just what it's all about for me. I don't think I could ever work in a place where I would have to track the animals using telemetry or a GPS every single day. It just wouldn't work. I wouldn't be a happy person. I don't think it would come across a lot more convoluted and a lot more sort of not convoluted, contrived is probably the better word for it. I don't think it's a way that safaris should be done. There's definitely a place for it in terms of research and in terms of people that are monitoring certain species that are difficult to follow. But for what we do and the way that we do things, I think there's so much more in being able to just not know what's around the next corner and being able to use a bit of skill to find animals and rely on a bit of luck than it is to just whip out a telemetry kit and drive to that animal every single day. I don't think there's as much fun in that at all. You can see he's still quite wary. As soon as another car arrives, he pops his head up and he looks around and checks what's going on. I don't think he's going to spend all day sleeping where he is now. We know Mvula is often an animal that moves even in the heat of the day. We've seen him moving around at 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm pretty sure, bless you Sept, he's going to lie here for a bit and then maybe start heading towards where this carcass was dragged. It'll be interesting. I'm going to probably from here go and check at the hyena den and see if maybe the carcass that he had was dragged to the hyena den, because it's heading in that general direction. It'll be interesting to see if maybe there's a bit of a food source at the den itself that maybe was Mvula's. So we'll go and have a little look for that a little bit later. But like I say, I'm pretty sure he's going to get up again at some point. I don't think he'll be down the whole afternoon. but he's definitely just kind of looking and checking around and seeing what's happening and making sure he's not being ambushed by anything. If he did have a kill, there will be a scent, and so hyenas might arrive. Right, well, we're going to admire Mvula, and while we do that, let's go across to Brent and his view of the Mara.
So, while we were sitting with the Paradise Pride, we heard impalas alarming closer to the river, and I thought maybe it could be... Oh, Scar, sorry, our cover is blown off in the wind. But we're not sure. So the zebras are looking down towards us, the impala are behind us and snorting, and there is only one little bush, or little thicket, and I think if there was a big male lion there, I'd see it. So I'm wondering whether it's a false alarm, or maybe there's a spotted cat hiding. Because if anything could disappear in this tiny little thing, it would be a leopard. So this tiny little grove here, and the impala are looking in here, the zebra are looking in here, and snort, snort, snort. But I can't see anything just yet. So we just heard the alarm calls while we were sitting with the lions, and we thought, well, we have to investigate, don't we? Remember, this is 100% live, so I'm hoping that there is a leopard around here. There's impalas are snorting. There is quite a strong gusty wind today, so they might have picked up a scent from somewhere, and they're just trying to figure out where it is. I'll just go back a little bit so we can have a look at them impalalas. See, they were looking into this bush. The male is staring at his competition, which are just down below him. They've gone a bit quiet now. They are looking down towards the river. There are more impala there, and the males... Oh, look at that. Look at that. The girl's trying to leave him. Is he going to have a mass exodus? Oh dear, you lost two, Chief. No, he doesn't know what to do. Does he follow the two, or does he stick with his big group of girls to try and keep them separate from the males? Now, of course, the rut here never ends. So these impala are in a permanent rut, trying to keep all the ladies together. And it's actually unusual not to see a baby in a herd of impala, so they breed throughout the year here, unlike in other parts of Africa where they have a very set breeding season. And that's why, another reason why their horns are so big. Constant competition. The male impala here are on steroids constantly to be able to keep their harem of ladies together. Oh, competition. Oh, there's another lady making a dash for it. Oh, what a poor dude. Oh, there we go. Pandemonium. There's one girl amongst all the boys. That's going to cause... Oh, no, he's losing all his girls. There's two more running across. He looks like he's lost. He doesn't know what to do. Oh, wait, just come back to these girls on the left here, Craig. She looks like she's seen something. Look at that focus on her. A little bit more to the left. There. Now that is like, oh dear, I think I've seen a cat. Look. Not sure though. There is a little croton thicket there. See how she walks closer? Now quite often they'll do that if they see a predator, just to really verify that it is a predator.